Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Higher Caliber. Today we're sitting here with Vince and JP.
And me.
And Jared. Jared's always here. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us in.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
That was my intro.
That was a good show.
Well, happy Veterans Day, everybody.
Yes, happy Veterans Day.
Absolutely.
We're going to go around and do some brief intros for the audience. We already know who you are, but if you wouldn't mind, Vince, kicking us off.
All right. For Veterans Day, we'll just go with my name is Vincent Cooper. I was part of 4th Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, Brigade Special Troops Battalion, 41 BSTB, deployed to Baghdad, Iraq in 07 to 08.
Right on.
All right. I got invited on the veteran show, not being a veteran here.
No, it just happens to be Veterans Day.
I was like, I showed up to the wrong show. Was I supposed to be in the next studio over here? JP Jaranowski, just a non-vet, appreciative of vets. Just from here in Mansfield, Ohio. Jared Centers, the brother-in-law. Tim Sims' the brother, so I got to hang out with Tim too from time to time. So
It's not a
invited
bad
me on
gig.
here. Yeah, it's not a bad gig.
Yeah. So, Vince,
Yes, sir.
we'll talk about your Army stuff for a little bit, if you don't mind, since we not a Veterans Day podcast, but you know, how old were you? I was there in the background when you joined, but you were,
I was 19 going on 20. So let's see, I had been out of school for a year, worked at the post office. And then there when I was staying at your guys' house with Mike and Sandy
you seem so much older than 19.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I turned 21 in Kuwait. But yeah, it was 19 going on 20. So what was that? 2006.
2006.
Yeah. And then went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and then was assigned to Fort Riley, Kansas. That was when I joined the 41 BSTB, and then we got our deployment orders within first 6 months of being in our company.
Did you assume you were going to deploy when you signed up?
Yeah, no. When
Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, joined during the time of war. And it was just the events of 9/11 that it inspired me then to start looking at the military. But I wanted to live some life first, you know. Had a good job lined up right out of high school when I was at the post office. Worked all the time, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. But it was a good first job to just make some money, right? And then as times were changing and the economy started getting a little bit more rougher, I made the decision to try to go to college as well. And then when I was in college, I was living off the money that I had made at the post office, but I wasn't finding another job to supplement that income and just blew through that money while in college. So then you look at that job market at the time, there wasn't very many options for a good job. So I looked at the military and I thought, this is going to be the end all be all. This is a career. This is something that you can do for 20 years and get out. And originally that was the goal.
Like most of us.
Yeah, right.
So did you have aspirations before you joined, you mentioned 9/11, is that something you saw was going on and you were like, I want to go be a part of this?
Yeah, right. Just so surprised at the fact that we were actually attacked. We grew up with that dream that, America's number one, 2-time World War champions and all that other jazz, the patriotic part of it, right? And then you see 9/11 happen and how the nation got behind that, events, right? I mean, we all know towards the end of it, then, that story turns really sour. But just seeing that reaction and that patriotism at the time, that's what inspired me to want to pick up my country's colors and wear them and go to war.
Yeah, we were, and I don't know, but people talk about September 12th, right?
Right, the next day,
and we were all tight, right?
Everybody.
And, everybody was, at that point in time, we were all on the same team. There wasn't Republicans and Democrats. And
I was in the 4th grade, but
right. Now, you were younger, Jared, when was that on TV in the 4th grade? Like, were you guys all around the TV? Because I remember when we were in high school.
We weren't around the TV. I just remember one of the subs or something crying because her kid was in the military or something like that. And then when we got home, it was on the news or whatever. And I remember Dad taking me in his little red Cavalier when the BP used to be where the Kroger gas station is now, when we sat in line to get gas forever.
It's actually where Tim Hortons used to be.
Oh, Tim Hortons, my bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just knew something crazy was going on. But.
Right. Everybody was scrambling to get gas. I remember that. We got to get gas.
Yeah. The Saudis will never give it to us again.
I want to say, and I think the price has actually hiked up a little bit. That was the first gas hike I think I experienced. But
yeah, I think back then it was crazy because I think it hit like $5 a gallon. And like you said, people were in line, just couldn't get it. I think probably one of the weirdest things about that was just, with everything else that we've seen since then, with the intelligence that we have now, we know what is happening and we know the lead ups. Yeah, so we can see things coming
since the Patriot Act.
Yeah, right. Since they stole all the rights and stuff. So I think that was our first thing that like just came out of nowhere.
Vince, when you were over there, did you have that? Was that still stuck in your head? Because I know what it's like when you're balls deep halfway through deployment, and then you kind of stop thinking about 9/11.
Yeah, you kind of sour to what it means to be a soldier, right? Like you experience the missions and you experience what you're doing, and then you get those daily reports back, so many kids dying still, so many people getting injured, and you're in the middle of it. You're the ones that are supposed to be policing it up, and it's still happening all around you. And it's hard to deal with, so you carry it a little bit different when you come back, like after you've actually experienced what it means to go on a deployment. And, it's not just all hype, you feel that patriotism, right? Still, but then you experience it and you're like, okay, I now see the pain in these people's eyes. I see what they're doing, with their lives after a regime has been removed, and, they're experiencing life and choices for the very first time. That it's a cool thing to be a part of, but it was a whole new world for them. And then we're just leaving it in their hands. All right, we fought this for you, now carry this. And they weren't ready for that.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of Americans think that every country wants us to export freedom to them. Right. Like it's they want us to live, or we want them to live like us. They're going to love that. But it's like if somebody came over here
and just turned everything upside down, like
it has to be a gradual, I think that was the thing, was that it's just like, here's your freedom. Right. Now we're out. Like, there's no gradual step to that. Like, what do? And you have so many democracy. People. Yeah, you have so many people fighting over who's going to run you now. You have to gradually step into these things. And I mean, that's with anything in life. You need a gradual progression to something. It's a natural way. You can't just bam. Now you're somebody totally different. You're under a whole new way of life. I think it's shocking.
I think the whole thing cost us 1 million lives. Not us, but mainly on their side. Right. And I don't know. I know a lot of people, you wouldn't say you regret it, right? But
no, I don't regret what we did, because what we were trying to do, our mission specifically was cleaning up the streets, like of IEDs, the routes.
You were an MP, right?
I was an MP. We assisted engineers. We had a motor pool. So the BSTB, the Brigade Special Troops Battalion, was 4 different MOSs under one roof. So you had medics, MPs, engineers, and your mechanics and stuff. And you operated mounted patrols through the streets of Iraq. Again, specifically Baghdad. And their mission was to clear the route of IEDs, or, just clear the route, of any obstructions. And then as we assisted in convoy security, and then what we called quick response force. So the days that you weren't on convoy security, you were then on quick response force, that if anybody got hit outside the wire, you were the first to mount up and go get them. Provide security and
God bless QRS.
bring them back. So,
sorry, JP, I don't know what that means either.
As a,
he just said quick response force.
I mean, he did label it out.
Boom, my bad.
You're on your own on that one, man.
I'm not good at tying things together, I guess.
Yeah. So one of the things both you guys have in common, you trained and competed in jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
And you trained and competed in MMA.
Yeah. I did, and I did do some jiu-jitsu tournaments. Solely, I was.
Did you do jiu-jitsu first?
Yeah, I was better. Yeah. That's how I led into MMA. I started out with jiu-jitsu, and
it's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug, man. You get that initial high off your first making somebody go to sleep.
Why did you initially get into it?
So the story behind how I ended up in MMA and in jiu-jitsu in general is I was in college and I was doing really well in my math classes because that's where I've always excelled in mathematics. And so there's this kid in my class, and I kept scoring more and more 100% on my tests and stuff. And at one point in time, he gave some like curves on the tests, and I had already scored 100%, so I couldn't get any higher. So I was in class debating about how it was unfair that I couldn't get the extra points because I've already scored as high as you could. And everybody else in the class kind of needed that buffer zone to get them to passing.
You were the annoying one?
Yeah, I was the annoying one. And, but I had very valid good points. So I'll still argue that. So this kid he was on the very lower end of it. And he then approached me because he thought he was going to fail the class, and he asked me to tutor him. And so I was like, yeah, no problem. This is the first time I've ever been approached to help anybody do anything. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it pumps your head up a little bit. You're like, yeah, cool. I'm smart as shit, and I'll help you. And so he was like, I got nothing to pay you. And I was like, oh, I wasn't looking for pay. He's like, yeah, but I feel bad just not helping you in any way, and you're helping me. And I was like, I thought that was honorable of him. So he was like, I'll tell you what, he's like, I do this stuff. It's like, kind of frowned upon, is cage fighting. And, this was probably 2006, 2007. So it really wasn't mainstream too much yet.
What year was UFC making?
At that point in time, UFC was around, but it wasn't really mainstream or anything like that. Like they were still in their like feeling out periods, UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all those happened. They were big, but then all the TV cable companies shut them down, blackballed them, and they can no longer air their episodes or whatever until Dana White saved the company. There's a whole story behind that, how Dana White came in and bought it out and used his boxing history to negotiate with these. And he kind of cleaned up the sport, made no more, you can't like headbutt each other anymore and stuff. He made it televisable.
They did that through like Nevada sports.
Yeah, they cleaned it up using
commission or whatever,
commissions and things like that, and making it look like a legit sport other than just human cockfighting. That's what they were doing. So, so he kind of saved. He really did save MMA. So a lot of people hate on Dana White, but he literally is the godfather. He saved MMA. But at that point in time, nobody really. So like it was kind of frowned upon for him to even be like, "Hey, I do this stuff." So his lead way into it was like, jiu-jitsu is acceptable. I do these jiu-jitsu classes too. He's like, I fight, but my main focus is jiu-jitsu, and I do these classes. If you'd like to come try them out, I won't charge you. You help me out, and I'll help you out. So I was like, at that point in time in my life, I had no direction. I had no clue, even anything. So I was like, sure, let's go for it. So I was helping him out. Turns out he passed math. He was grateful. I started doing jiu-jitsu. At that point in time, we were out at OSU Mansfield's gymnasium. We'd have to roll the mats out every night and then like do our classes, then roll them back up. And, so he was just like, hey, you want to do this? I did it. And then like, he's like, why don't we do a tournament? And I was like, no, I suck. And he's like, yeah, you're not terrible. So I did my first tournament. I won. And then it was just like, I kept winning and doing better and better and better. And at that point in time, there was Eddie Bravo came out with 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. It kind of revolutionized the jiu-jitsu game and how it was played. And at that point in time, it was very beneficial to me because my body type allowed me to take advantage of that. I'm lean, I'm thin, very flexible. So at that point in time, I was able to utilize this new type of jiu-jitsu that came out. Like it wasn't the standard traditional jiu-jitsu. And I did very well against people who were used to the standard jiu-jitsu, it's traditional. And so I had a lot of success in it. And then after about 6 months of doing that to a year, it was between the 6 months and a year frame. He was like, hey, have you ever thought about fighting? It's like, nah, man. No, I got the most competitive thing I ever did was like play soccer. And then,
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So I played soccer, but I wasn't even like good at it, So like, I like rode the pine and sat the bench and like even actually got in trouble for like leaving the games like during the game. And, I just wandered off the field. At one point in time, I got in big trouble because I wandered off the field, found the school building beside the place that we were playing, and who knows where, some 60 minutes away from here or something. And I found a ladder that led onto like the top of the school building, got on top of the school building, got caught by security and hauled off. They had to explain to my soccer coaches trying to, coach a game that they just caught one of the players on the top of their school. So, it was just like one of those. I was never athletic gifted. I'd never even lifted a weight, like hadn't seen the weight room. I'm 25 years old at this point in time. Never even seen a weight. Like,
so that's why the idea of like fighting other people was kind of, that's not for me.
Well, I never thought it wasn't for me. I just didn't think I'd have it. I just didn't think I'd be successful in it. You know what I mean? So I told him, I was like, hey, yeah, sure. Well, he's like, he hyped it up. Like, I think he'll do good, things like that. And so I was having some success in jiu-jitsu, and I started believing, I'm like, oh, maybe I could do this. But in the back of my head, I always thought, like, I'm not a fighter. Like, this ain't gonna work out for me. But I told him, I said, look, I'll do it. And, we'll go with it and see how it goes. And then the first night, my first fight, it's an addiction. It's hooked. When you take your first win, back then it was a little bit different. Like I said, the commissions were there, but they weren't like as regulated and serious.
It was just kind of like,
well, I showed up that night and, my opponent comes over and he weighs in, I weigh in, we're sitting there bullshitting because it was weird. He like wanted to be friends or something. And then he starts talking to me and, we're just bullshitting about how long we've been doing it and stuff. And then he's like, well, I got to go real quick. And he gets up and he leaves and he just never comes back to the show. So now my fight's canceled because they don't know where my opponent's at. It's about fight time.
He's on top of the school, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I can't handle the guy either. So good point. Never even thought to look there. But actually, the guys who were putting on the fights, he had it was a crosstown gym, and he was the owner and operator trainer of the gym. Name was Brian Smiley. Super nice guy, great guy. He's a sheriff over there. I believe he's sheriff. He's a cop.
He's a cop. He's law enforcement.
Yeah.
Smiley.
So Brian Smiley over in Ashland area. Anyways, he ran a place called the Rec Room Athletics, and they used to have a fight series called Rec Room Fight Series, named after their gym. They changed over to make it more inviting for everybody, and didn't name the whole fight series after their gym, like they're stacking the card, Right. So it became Revolution Fight Series. And Brian Smiley was putting up the cage, but he was too, and they were just like, well, the first fight fell off. And he was kind of like, like when you're in that type of sport and you've been doing it for a while, you kind of feel like a tough guy. Mm-hmm. So he was like, yeah, I'll fight him. But he was 2 weight classes heavier than me. So I'm just like, what do you mean? And then he's got all this experience. I'm like, oh shit, I'm like pissing myself at this point almost, I'm like, dude, I just doing this for fun. Now I got to fight like a gym owner, I felt like a Pokemon, I usually fight the gym boss.
You gotta have a couple fights before you go to the boss, man.
Yeah. So, but I'm just like, my trainer's like, hey, dude, I believe if you can get him to the ground and use your jiu-jitsu, you can do this. You can take him. And I'm like, he's like, he hasn't trained for it. You trained for this fight. He hasn't trained. And then to Brian Smiley's point, like, he didn't know he was fighting that night. He was just helping them put up the cage, Right. But so I put on all my clothes. I held a water bottle and got on the scales again and weighed in a little bit heavier. Took the fight. We were the first fight of the night, and got in there, and somehow or another I pulled it out, and the dopamines flew. And from there, once you get those dopamines from one-on-one combat, it's something that I'll never feel again in my life. Like it was just. A one-on-one sport is just totally different than a team sport. There's, that you did it, like those dopamines, and you get your hand raised and you look around in the crowd and everybody's cheering because I choked them out. So, just like, it wasn't like a decision win or nothing like that. You beat a man. And in combat, if you wanted to, you could have took his life at that point, that no crazier feeling than knowing that, like, I could have ended your life right here.
Right.
Had this
and the stakes, like you said, the team sport. As a team, you're all losing as a team, but you're just losing as yourself. And when you win, you won.
It's all
you.
Yeah, it's not like like hey, it's not like your buddies, like, you're playing basketball and they're like, hey, you want to go pick up a game this weekend? Let's go shoot some hoops on the court.
They could be kind of like Park. They could be kind of like that, especially at Liberty Park.
It kind of could. Nobody just calls somebody else like, hey, you guys want to go look for fights this weekend? See if we can go down in the courts and go find some fights. You know what I mean?
People don't do that anymore.
It's totally different.
Were you a fight in high school? Did you get in fights and stuff?
No, I got in one fight and got my ass whooped.
Okay.
Yeah. Over the kid cut me. We were doing soccer P testing. And the kid cut me in line.
Cut you in the P line?
Yeah, he cut me in the P line, man. And at this point in time,
they P test you for soccer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, there's a lot of soccer steroids. No, but
this was for a school?
Yeah, school sports. In high school, they taught. I don't know. They don't do that.
Dude, we went to Lucas.
So
they could barely afford to rent the field.
Yeah, there was no like you're on the team. Whether you're on the top of the school or whatever, you're on the team.
You guys, like, if you guys lost one person, your team had to just like shut down. You guys didn't have football that year. Like, you guys went from ineligible. You went ineligible for lack of players.
Yeah,
but yeah, kid cut me, and I had no clue. I had a job at that point in time, so I needed to get to work, and I can't be getting cut, like I gotta go to work and go make some money. And little did I know he was on substances. So there was a reason I drug test. And he had somebody else's pee in his pocket, and he was trying to keep it warm and trying to get to the front of the line while it was still warm. So anyways, we kind of, bump and shove and argue over it. And he's like, he's acting like he's going to fight me and stuff. And then, so I'm like, finally, like, okay, I'll knuckle up. And he's like, we're not going to do it here. Follow me to my house. And he lived 2 streets over from the high school. So I'm like, fuck yeah. So I hopped in my hoopty station wagon and drove right on over to his house. I don't know why I didn't think it was okay for, to be late to work for somebody to cut me with piss test, but I thought it was okay to go get in a whole fight. Yeah. At that point in time, I really thought I had this in the bag. And I get to his house and walk into his yard, and he had already went inside of his house and then came back out. And I'm like, oh,
red flag.
Yeah. Red flag. I did not know this was a red flag at the time, or else I should have just kept on rolling in the hoopty wagon.
Yeah.
And so he comes out and we kind of, do the typical high school, like bump chest, like both put your hands out, like, come on, bro, and push him. He pushes me. I push him. He's standing there. I don't think anything's going to happen at this point in time, but everybody's watching, It was 2 streets over. The whole team came to watch. And so at this point in time, I thought I've punked him out, like I've pushed him. He hasn't thrown a punch, whatever. He told me to follow him. I followed him. He's not doing anything. He looks stupid. So I go to turn and walk away and just smack right upside the side of my head. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening? That motherfucker hits hard. So then he pulls my shirt over my head and just we're kind of tussling around in the front yard. And the neighbors come out and start yelling. And he's like, he pushes me out into the road, and he's like, I'd get out of here. The cops are coming. The neighbor's going to call the cops. I'd leave if I was you. And here I am. I'm like, fuck, I just got my ass whipped. I'm still a little dazed. I feel my head. I got blood running down. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I get in my car and I leave. I got my ass kicked. It turns out, like, I didn't even know about it, but like 10 years down the road, I'm sitting at the bar and I'm bullshitting with one of my old soccer player friends from the team or whatever. He's like, yeah, I can't believe that fight you got in with him, man. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I fucking learned a lesson that night that, don't pick a fight because I got my ass whooped. And he was like, oh, dude, I still can't believe he hit you with that roll of quarters in his hand. And I was like, I thought the dude just hit hard as hell. And then I realized he went inside, got a roll of quarters, and that was his goal. He was waiting until I was going to walk away and just sucker punch me. And to this day, I mean, until that point in time, I thought the dude was just a badass and like hit hard as shit.
A decade later,
I find out I got mollywopped by a freaking roll of quarters. So,
wow.
No. That was my, so obviously now, then I go into the MMA and I'm thinking like, do I want to get my ass kicked in front of everybody again?
Right. Right.
And then, but the rest of that was like history. I just told I won that first one. And I told my trainer, I was like, I'm in college for radiology, I was like, I'm just doing this for fun, I'll just keep fighting until I lose. And then when I lose, I'll quit, whatever. That way I'm up on the cards. I'm either even because I've already won one. If I lose the next one, I'm evened out 1-1 right. Or I win a couple and I lose one and, I've got a good record. And then, eventually in MMA, I went, I believe my amateur record was 10-0. It might've been 11-0, 10-0 or 11-0. And I had won, our local, 145 pound title. And then I went on the STO channel, Sports Time in Ohio. They had a series on there called NAAFS Fight Series. So I was fighting on Ohio TV, and I won their 135-pound title. So I had won 2 titles, turned to pro. And then at that point in time, I graduated from college and kind of had to decide what I wanted to do. And MMA was not lucrative at that point in time.
Right.
And I thought, when you go into a profession, people like, you always think you're going to make way more at your profession than what you truly are, right? So I'm like, I'm in the medical field. Everybody says everything in the medical field. You're going to be balling. I'm going to be making so much money. That wasn't true, but in my head, I'm graduating and I'm like, well, I'm going to choose this. I'm in the medical field now over fighting for 200, 500. I think the most I ever made on a fight as a pro was 500, 500. Like $500 to win, and then another 500 if you, or 500 to fight, and then another 500 if you won. So ultimately, the most you'd walk out of there with was $1,000, but the least you would walk out with was 500. So
is that worth it with the, well, it sounds like you didn't do it for the money anyway, but
no, it was for the dopamine.
Yeah. Between cutting weight and
all that stuff. No, it's definitely not worth it. I mean, you put in so many hours in the gym and giving up on if you have children, you're not in order to win like that and be productive, you need to be doing more than the other guy, unless you're naturally gifted. And even the naturally gifted guy is going to lose to the guy who's putting in solid work. So I was in the gym 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. And I mean, that's 10 hours every week. And then you're talking about, 3 months. You're not fighting really more than 4 times a year. You shouldn't be, or else you're not getting better. You're just getting tougher. So, I mean, for the amount of work you put in, it's not worth it at all. Plus, on one of my pro fights, I got stitches. I got hit in the lip and got stitches. And you could either go to the hospital and use your insurance, or you could pay the doctor that's sitting ringside to stitch you up in the back locker room. So now here I am. I made 500, because I did win that one. So I made $1,000, but then it was $100 a stitch is what the doctor charged me
per stitch.
$100 per stitch. Smokes. I needed 5 stitches in my lip. So
there it was.
Now I'm down to $500,
Yeah.
So,
and that didn't go towards your deductible.
No. So, and I don't think I could really turn that into my insurance company. How'd you get into, well, I got into a sanctioned fight with somebody that's supposed to have insurance on me.
Right.
So there's companies that's folded, due to not paying out insurance, like my buddy Cody Stevens, great MMA guy. He's went very far and it done great work. A local legend. And, but he was fighting for a company through a kick and did the Anderson Silva, broke his fib around the guy's leg. Didn't know because it's instantaneous, pain hadn't kicked in yet, took a step back, crumbled, fell down, broke his fib, has to go to the hospital, has to go get surgery and everything like that. And he was a pro at this time. And the company, was supposed to have insurance and didn't have insurance. So it was all out of his pocket. He was getting debt collectors and everything like that, calling him, and here he is, he was fighting for probably the same pennies that night, 1,200 max, and that's not covering it. So
that's
he ended up having to fight for collections. This company folded, it just folded their LLC or whatever. And then all of it was still left on him. So is it worth it? No. Sounds if you make it big leagues, huge leagues, even if you still make it to the UFC, you're only fighting for 5 and 5 as an introductory fighter, that's $10,000. Right. And like I said, you're only going to do that 4 times a year. So if you even get to the best of the best, that'd be like making it to the NFL. Even if you make it to the best of the best, you're still making $40,000 a year. And that's assuming you win all 4. I can make more than that.
Yeah, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears you put into it doesn't seem hardly worth it. Yeah, unless you're doing it for the, like you said, the dopamine and
you're doing
the fame,
passion and fame. That feeling in front of the crowd when they don't even like you. They don't know who you are, but you just choke somebody out in front of them. They want blood, and you gave them something.
Yep. You just gave them some dopamine.
Yeah. So that's the long story of how I got into it and where it led and kind of the progression of it.
I want to talk more about the local scene, but Vince, I want to hear about your jiu-jitsu run. I know you went to Australia, so you've been doing something, or you were doing something.
It was. So I fought under Sean Chitwood out of here in Lexington, Mansfield area. Originally, he had a school in Lucas. It was a karate school, Sean Chitwood's Martial Arts. It was right on Main Street, where the Town Money Saver is now. And when he had that up there, I was probably 8 years old the first time that I stepped in there, and from 8 to 10 trained under Sean in karate. And then my mom pulls me out. It became unaffordable. And the next time that I see him, I am in my mid-20s and I'm eating myself to death. Basically, I had an apartment by myself, just a lot of depression and stuff. And he messages me and he says, "Hey man, I see you're kind of doing rough. Why don't you come down and start training and doing some jujitsu and just see if you like it?" All right, man, come down. Started hanging out, and it was the workout and the mental aspect of it, dealing with depression and stuff. It was an outlet to test yourself. I was missing that drive that I had gotten from the military. And I didn't realize it for a long time that, just trying to live through life and survive, make ends meet, so that you have a place and you have food on the table and stuff, you don't worry about self-care. So it drove me down, a little bit. Sean saw that. He said, "Hey man, try jiu-jitsu." And that was like the cure at the time, was to just go to training and, learn the sport, learn the art.
Were you apprehensive about it when he first called you, or was it kind of like the call you needed?
Yeah, no, it was definitely the call I needed, because I needed something. I had just gotten out of a relationship, just down on luck, right? Working for Rent-A-Center, I think I was only making it was only $15-16 an hour, and it was just rough to live off of.
Or at least, sorry to interrupt, but at least tacos were still $1 back then.
Yeah, right.
We still have dollar menus.
I was like, damn, I went to college for radiology, and my first job was starting out at 15. I was like, damn, I could have went to Rent-A-Center.
well, that's what. So I was surviving on those $5.99 pizzas from Domino's, and that's what I was like when I say I was eating myself to death. I'm depressed, getting a pizza every night, and just pizza in a 2-liter, and playing video games. At the time, I think it was Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, or whatever was out, but. I go down and I start training, and it was just one of those things that, he talked about the dopamine, the dopamine from competing, the dopamine from training, from getting exercise and stuff. It helped me start repairing. Right. And just from my time as a child and having a little bit of karate, and then coming into jiu-jitsu, which more of a ground game, it was a whole new challenge in itself, so the basis that what I had is like what he's talking about with MMA, the mixed martial arts part of it. You take the stand-up games, you mix them with those ground games. And that's what MMA, that's at the core of it. That's what it is it's not just one style. It's not just one rule set. It's not just, submissions. It's all of it, KOs, submissions, the entire game. So as I'm down there training with Sean, the opportunity to join what is called the American Sports Jiu-Jitsu League was available. And he was fielding a team with other martial artists that he had known throughout the United States. And as we trained to join their national team, we were going to regional tournaments or local tournaments, some here in Ohio, some in Syracuse, New York. We were down in Seversville, Tennessee, and they have events in South Carolina at Black Force MMA. They have events now down in Florida. A lot of coaches from around that area then brought their schools together, and we basically formed a national team. And then we went and competed as Team USA. Under the World Council of Jiu-Jitsu. So, and like he was talking about, there's different leagues, there's different councils or whatever. So that was the governing body that we competed under. We traveled to the Gold Coast in Australia, more specifically Brisbane, just south of it a little bit. And we competed against Great Britain and New Zealand and Australia. So,
that's pretty wild.
When you went to compete, what belt were you? Were you still a white belt?
I was still a white belt. Yeah. So as I was training under Sean, didn't really gain any rank, but I was still going to classes and stuff. But was just kind of more focused on the aspect of training with this team. and they offered me a spot, eventually, just because of the work that I was putting in. I was coming to every single tournament. I was coming to every single team practice that they had. And I had enough of a game that they considered me for a spot on the team. So I took that opportunity and just trained primarily with them. And as a white belt, I was going over and competing in black belt divisions. So I was going up against, the people who had the years of experience or, the talent to have earned a black belt in their craft. Mm-hmm. And is to go up against that amount of talent is amazing as a white belt. To have that experience was amazing. Just for myself personally, to be able to say, I traveled across the world to compete in a martial art, for my country, again, being able to, carry the, your country's colors. Yeah. It's in a completely different arena, but, you still have that pride. You still have that patriotism with it. Like, yeah, hell yeah, Team USA, all the way. Yeah.
2 world wars.
So,
about to be 3.
Yeah. So did you beat a Great Britain dude that day?
Please tell me you did.
You got to say yes.
Let's see. So I won. A lot of my matches I won on points. I didn't get like submissions or anything.
It's a sport.
Winning's winning.
But as the bracket broke down, you see a lot of injuries and stuff. And I ended up just getting into a medal game. And I finished 4th in my division. I fought at like 160, 165. So I'm quite a bit bigger now, but yeah, to get down to that weight and fight at that size was beneficial because I had to get out of the guys' reaches that had long arms and stuff, So when you fight at that heavier weight, you're falling much taller individuals. Yeah. And it's a lot harder as, a jiu-jitsu practitioner sometimes to get into that, get inside that defense and, get them to the ground, or even as a striker to, get your shots and then get out, as you try to break them down or earn points in your fight.
Did you dump some tea when you were done?
Throw it in the harbor. We threw up plenty of beers though.
Some Fosters.
Yeah. When you first go in to train, I'm assuming that your first lesson isn't getting choked, or is it somebody on top of you trying to choke you first day? No, whether you can take it or not, or they don't want to discourage you the first day.
There's always the opportunity to spar. I mean, day one, you can come in and spar, but it's not something that's pressured. It's not something that you don't even have to push yourself in that way. If you just want to compete in the, take the class and just do the class. Yeah, it's part of the class. But again, day one, you don't have to roll with black belts. You don't have to roll with, you might have the opportunity to get with one who they know is very ginger or that can teach you, rather than somebody that's just going to go in and automatically, hey, I can submit you in 5 seconds. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again and see if you come back tomorrow.
I don't know anything about it firsthand. I've just heard the professional guys talk about how you would rather roll with a black belt, somebody that knows what they're doing, and not somebody who's actively just that can actually teach you something and do it the right way and learn, instead of just there's a blue belt trying to choke you out the whole time. You know what I mean?
I got to say there's a thin line there, when you go in, probably you'll attest to this for your first time. It's really based on your ego, how this day is going to go. It's not based on nobody else in the gym. It's your ego. And it's a very humbling experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Very humbling. Cause in jiu-jitsu, it's a sport that's, based on time, and the more time you have in, the better results you're going to get. And so it's not really based on athleticism. You're going to see a guy that you think for sure you're going to smash, right? You're going to look at him and you think it's going to happen. You're going to go in and he's going to smash you, and it's going to be real humbling real quick. But as far as the white belts and black belts and who you want to go against, it's definitely beneficial to go against a black belt who he's going to establish his dominance on you very quick. He's going to smash your ego and let you know
he's more comfortable
who's
being uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's going to let you know who's the big dog. Once that happens and you realize that he's the big dog, then it's a learning experience for you, and you're going to soak up as much information, and it's going to be much more controlled and environment. A white belt's just going to spaz out on you. Like if they're new and you're new,
that's what I mean.
Somebody's getting injured. Mm-hmm. If you're new and they're new, it's a battle of egos. And at that point in time, are you tougher? Because as a white belt jiu-jitsu guy, you can come in as just a real mentally strong, tough guy and with no cares and no quit in you. Mm-hmm. And you're going to give him a hard time, even if he has been training for a year and, because he's not used to that. He's used to those now. Now he's settled back down. He came in like that and then he learned to settle down like the black belt style, but he doesn't have the finesse that the black belt has.
So it's all really nuanced.
Yeah. So then he's going to realize real quick that you're trying to rip his head off and he's going to try to rip your head off.
Right.
He's more skilled, but you're probably more, but he's been rolling with this lulled. Like, I don't want to say, he's learned to control it and pace it better. But at the beginning, you're going to give him fits and he's going to try to give you fits. And
like a rabid dog.
Yeah. So it's going to get dangerous at that point in time because he knows enough to be able to hurt you. And you don't know enough to know that you're probably going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And you're going to blow each other's shoulders out because you don't know when to stop.
Everybody's swinging for the fences.
Yeah. But so a funny background story, Vince, I don't know if you know it, but I know the Chit was, I'm familiar with them. Very nice guys, very great guys, really, really good guys. They trained under the same guy that I'm talking about that I went to college with that got me into the program. There's a local guy. His name is John Saylor. He lives in Perrysville. He was the Olympic judo coach for the Team USA in the 80s. High caliber judo guy. Nice. Like, I'm like best of the best. All right. Took the Olympic team around the world to the Olympics. That's how high caliber, that's up
There's
there.
only one Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, so
unless you're in North Korea.
It's crazy to have somebody of that caliber just living in a small town here in Ohio. I mean, he lives on a farm and that's, at one point in time, I fought underneath the place called the Fight Farm. And that's kind of where it came from. Was John Saylor had this thing called the Barn of Truth. And it kind of was, reminiscent of people are familiar with like West Side Barbell, that type of training and mentality of like Louis Simmons, like bigger, stronger, faster, and you're putting in the grunt work. Anyways, he trained people out of his barn. It was a legit barn.
I can't state this enough.
It was a barn.
It was a barn.
And like when you went down to the weight room downstairs, it was like old horse stalls.
So Fight Farm wasn't just
no, it wasn't a gimmick. It was like a legit,
for real.
It was a farm.
And you don't milk the cows when you're done.
But his two disciples, the guys that he mainly trained that did things with it. One was the guy I ended up training in college. JP Pocock was his name. And he did very well for himself and fought. And he went to Canada, fought in Canada. And he was doing very well as a solid wrestler based. He fought a guy in Canada who he took a shot in and this guy kneed him in the face and busted his whole face up real bad. And he kind of stepped back from fighting after that, after he realized how dangerous it really could be at this point in time. Because there was, like I said, this is a little unregulated days. But anyways, so his other disciple, John's other disciple was JP Pocock and was Sean Chitwood. So they both come from the same lineage, John Saylor. JP Pocock decided to go the MMA route, fighting route. Chitwood decided to go the family karate jiu-jitsu route of it. So our trainers actually trained underneath the same guy. They both trained together with each other for a very long time until they kind of separated that. One went the fighting route and one went the family jiu-jitsu route.
Some real Star Wars shit right there.
Yeah. Come from the same lineage.
All roads lead to Ohio.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the, are you guys still in it, competing, in touch with anything, following anything locally in Mansfield?
I mean, I don't know. I'll let you go first on this one, Vince. Are you still in it?
Oh, no. So, right now it's just like a financial thing, man. I got out of it and started raising a family. So that was my goal, was to, try to balance both. But then you get into all this inflation and everything, and it just becomes
this cozy economy.
Yeah, right.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap to train.
It's not
most
cheap
gyms will charge well over $100 per month.
It's not cheap to eat clean. It's not cheap to practice. Like if you were even to do it at home, to get all the gear, it's not an easy sport to maintain. If
to get you some Dolomer mats, it costs you about 10 G's.
So. Yeah, it's just a financial strain I got out of it. I always intend to go back, and that's what I'm fighting for now is to just find that comfortable balance between family and a hobby that, you can get back to that balance, get those dopamines, get that, that mental, that mental game back to getting strong because
stop having kids.
Yeah, right. If I would just put it away,
it's hard, man.
Fine.
Yeah.
No, we're expecting in April, our third daughter, and then
congratulations.
Thank you. And then we're done. That's it.
You said that probably after daughter, right?
Yeah, third
God
daughter.
Bless you. God bless you.
Come on, you can try one more.
We tried so hard for a boy this time, but
it'll happen.
Just didn't work out. So, but no, I'm blessed to be a girl dad. It changes you a lot.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. Yeah.
God bless you.
It does. It gives you as a girl dad, it's a perspective that you never knew. Like now I think that it is my karma for how I grew up and how I treated females that I get stuck with 3 females now. And it says, all right, well, here you go, bud. Now you've got to raise them to deal with
karma
assholes
is real.
like you.
I believe karma is real.
Yeah.
How far in the MMA were you when you had your first?
I had Journey literally. There's a picture of me holding Journey right after she was born, and I had black eyes and a title. So I was cutting weight for a fight while she was being delivered in the room, and it was a very miserable experience because I fought I fought at 135. So I mean, me cutting weight to lose weight was hard because there's not a lot to lose at 135. It was miserable. But my daughter was born, and so with NAAFS, what they did, it was kind of like almost like a tournament style edition, but not in one night. Like there was eliminations, and you fought your bracket up. You fought the next guy, and then so I was leading up. When she was born, I was fighting their previous year's champion. So it was a really important match. And I had her in September. I fought for their 135 title in December. So it was pretty close to being born. It was almost at the peak of my career in it, I say that because when I was doing it, the UFC did not have 135-pound fighters or 145-pound fighters. There, you would have had to go to a different organization called Strikeforce. At that point in time, they were really the only ones in the U.S. rocking out that weight class. So for me to do it, it was kind of like there was no end goal because I would never make it to the UFC. I'm never going to make it to the big leagues because there was no big leagues for us little guys. We don't knock each other out. It's not exciting. We hit each other a lot. We just don't knock each other out. Right. People always ask me, how many people do you knock out or something like that? I'm like, none. We just hit the shit out of each other.
Have you not been knocked out this whole time?
I never actually got knocked out. I was very fortunate. I based my fight game on my jiu-jitsu game. So I always took guys to the ground and just got them out quick. Choke them out, get out of there. Like I said, or we're little guys. We're just going to beat the shit out of each other, hit each other enough, and then a judge is going to decide who hit each other the most. I didn't like that. So my goal was always to get you to the ground, choke you out, and not go to the decision. Don't go to the judges' scorecards. And I was fortunate enough that game plan played out very well for me. In the days that I did it, I came in before athletes actually came in. So it's kind of funny. If I was to fight the 135, 145s now, I'd get my ass whooped. But back then, I came in when it was mainly just street fighters and people that liked to fight was in there. You know what I mean? So there was 2 people that fought: wrestlers who wanted that dopamine from wrestling and they couldn't get it anymore, or street fighters who just like to fight. So they did it because they just really freaking enjoyed it. So me coming in as a jiu-jitsu guy was the perfect time for me to come in as a jiu-jitsu guy, because what is a wrestler's worst enemy in their jiu-jitsu guy? Because they're going to take him down and the jiu-jitsu guy is going to choke him. That's what jiu-jitsu guy wants to be down there. I didn't even have to work on taking the takedown. He took me down for me, right? Or I fought a guy who was a street fighter. I could get him to the ground and choke him out. I didn't have to go against other good jiu-jitsu guys and guys who were well-rounded athletes.
Is that so that's who you wanted to fight, the wild swingers or more the wrestler guys?
Well, I wanted to fight the wrestlers because it's a safe plan. I don't like getting beat up. You know what I mean? And I eventually would. I've got 9 minutes in there with them as an amateur. As a pro, it's 15 minutes. As an amateur, I got 9 minutes to work my jiu-jitsu game. I can make something happen in 9 minutes. All right. So I liked wrestling because I didn't have to take damage. I took very little damage in my whole fight career game. With the exception of one time, the stitches time, I took a spinning back fist.
was that your biggest injury?
Yeah. My biggest injury was my spinning back fist right to the mouth. And, that taught me not to just run at somebody with my hands down. So,
Vince, did you sustain any injuries while you were training, competing?
No injuries.
No injuries.
Ankles. I rolled ankles a lot. Ankle injuries just in training. That was my biggest injury in a fight. In training, like I said, things were still kind of rudimentary. So like I remember one drill we did, we hooked bands around each other's waists and you ran in opposite directions. And it was basically like who gave up first, it was like tug of war, but going in the opposite direction, whoever pulled the other one across the line. And it was a good drill, but at 135, it was not advantageous to me to be drilling that against somebody who's much larger than me. All right. So we got so far out that so much tension got built up on that band that when they actually kind of finally got me to where my legs were toast, I couldn't go any further. I tried to backpedal, but the thing slingshotted me back and I couldn't keep my footing. And I like rolled my ankle so bad that I could not walk. It sounded like a shotgun going off when I rolled my ankle. It was loud enough that everybody in the gym doing everything else stopped and looked and just stared at me like, is he going to get back up? So that was the worst injury I got out of it. As far as back to the original question, Journey was, she was just born. And, that was when, like I said, I had to do something with my life. Right. And I knew MMA was not going to pay the bills. So I focused more on the collegiate thing and got my degree in radiology. And then Ultimate Fighter came out with a 135. UFC's finally did it. They finally let us little guys fight, right?
I'm back.
Yeah. So I'm like, I want them dopamines back, buddy. Come on, give me that. Just a little scratch. Yeah. So I went and tried out for the Ultimate Fighter. And I drove up to New Jersey, tried out it was their initial season. So went up there, tried out, met Dana White, Sean Shelby, all those guys. It was weird because like you don't fight for them, but they do put you through like competition type things. So they did have me roll like and go get jiu-jitsu. Yeah, jiu-jitsu against some of the best guys in the nation. Like these guys are coming in, like some of these guys were flying in from Arizona, and things like that. Like John Dotson was there. I don't know if you guys watch any MMA, but Dotson was a huge 135 like guy. You knew coming into it that he was going to be favored to be on the show. He was a Jackson, a camp Team Jackson guy. He had cameras following him when he showed up. You know what I mean? Like this guy, you knew he was going to be on the show, but the rest of us were trying to compete. But it was kind of, it was a humbling experience. And you did jiu-jitsu, but you started off your knees, because they didn't want to take the liability of you getting injured while you're doing their camp, And then they had like legit UFC like performance people holding pads for you and like working out in front of Dana White to watch your like techniques, your kicks, your punches, things like that.
How did you hear about the exhibition? Was it just something everybody was talking about? But the tryouts, I should say.
The tryouts, a former manager of mine that I had at one point in time, which was the weirdest thing ever. It was like, I got a manager at one point in time when I turned pro and he would try to find me fights. And he was like, hey, this Ultimate Fighter's coming out, and I'd like to represent you as your manager and things like that. I'm letting you know. So that's how I found out about it. And so I went up and, like I said, I made it past Dana White, Sean Shelby's like the jiu-jitsu portion, the holding pads portion. I finally made it to, at that point in time, UFC was on, or the Ultimate Fighter was on Spike TV. Mm-hmm. So I made it to the Spike TV producers. At this point in time, Dana White sits us all down. There's probably like 15 of us in my group. And he's like, hey, it's out of my hands from here, guys. He's like, now you guys got to find out if you're good TV. So we went on the show, or we talked to the producers in the back room and everything like that. And they like straight up, like right off the rip, they're like kind of, hey, this is all about TV. They're like, you proved to Dana White you can fight. He thinks you're here. Your record says you're here. They looked at you. They think you're good enough. Now we got to decide if you're going to make good TV or not. He's like, this is about selling numbers. He's like, so it's funny because right off the rip, he's like, is there any Canadians here? And this one guy in our group was Canadian. He's like, hey, yeah, me. Hey. And he's like, you can just get the fuck out now.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, you guys have no personalities.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, and he's like, anybody else here from another country? And another guy,
not me, Jean Paul.
Yeah. Another guy raises his hand. And he's like, do you speak English? And the guy's like, he's like broken English. Like he's saying English, but it's not like, it's not piecing together real well. And he's like,
say it.
Yeah. Well, no, because it wasn't Canadian. It was just like all over the world. Like we had people coming in from other countries for this show. And he was like, so he's talking, he is broken English. He's like, if nobody can understand you, they ain't going to watch you. Probably ain't getting picked. So went through.
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, I went through the whole interviews or whatever, and I wasn't chosen or whatever. They said, we'll give you the call back and let you know. So then you're sitting there waiting. Like, you don't hear nothing. They leave you on red. And so apparently I didn't.
Before that existed.
Yeah. Apparently I didn't make the cut. Apparently I had no personality or something. So,
they're like, do you have a nickname already?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
No, it's just like I think what killed it for me, because like the guy laughed a couple times and he's like, oh, this is funny, because he looks at you had to make a taped interview like before you even went in, one of these things. And I was just like, hey guys, like I just broke the news to my girlfriend that I'm coming up and trying out for this. So if you guys could choose me, it'd be great, because I'm now homeless. And, so they laughed at it, they have, but then he's like, you want to talk about your family. And, I didn't have the easiest childhood growing up. Sometimes, things were a little rough. So I was like, hey, I wanted to bow out at that point in time. I was just like, hey, I don't really feel like talking about that type of stuff. And he was like, he kind of nudged for a couple questions here and there. And I was just like, yeah, I just had a typical childhood, blah, blah, blah. And
so what are you, an FBI agent?
Yeah. No, they want to, they want to get underneath your skin and get your reactions out of you, because that's going to make good TV. Your reactions are going to make good TV. You're going to break down, things like that. And they're like, do you drink? Things like that. They want you to drink.
Are you wild?
They want you to drink. Some of the guys that went there, like one guy in my group, he was like, he must have knew the ins and outs of it before. Maybe some teammates that were in heavier weight classes had made it through, because he like took 2 shots of, so I don't remember what it was, but he took 2 shots before going into the interview. He's like, if they smell liquor on my breath, he's like, they know I like to drink and they'll probably choose me.
Like, hey, whatever, man.
Whatever gets you there.
He'll be able to sell booze.
Yeah. So that, and anyways, is a long story about where she was at. And then like I said, I kind of gave it up just for, you can't do it. You can't be dedicated. You can't compete with the best competitors in the world. They don't have those obligations. And if you're not going to be the best in the world, if you're not training to be the best in the world, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Because like I've said before, there's no profit unless you're the best in the world.
Right.
In that game, there's nothing. Like I can go at Rent-A-Center, you said he'd make $15 an hour. That's 30 grand a year. I wasn't going to make that in the UFC as this guy starting out. You know what I mean? Unless you're the champion, you're not making that. So why would I do this unless I'm going to be the best in the world? And at that point in time, I wasn't ready to be the best in the world, because I had a kid. I had responsibilities, and I'm competing against people who do not.
Yeah, you need stability in your life.
So that's kind of where I walked about out, is when I decided to have kids and things like that. And, I tried to drag it on for a couple of years, and it pretty much ruined my relationship with my daughter's mom. I was always in the gym. I was never home. She felt like she was a single mom raising my daughter by herself. Would I say I was a good dad? Yeah. I'm trying to do the best I can for us and make a profit. I'm thinking I'm going to be a UFC star. You know what I mean? Because as you should, that should be your mentality if you're training. But to her, I was just some deadbeat out and just following my dreams with no care for my family,
rolling around.
So that's the downside.
Have you guys seen the Power Slap League?
I have seen, and I have
Dana
watched.
White League.
And those guys are fucking crazy.
What do you guys think about it?
They get a lot of shade.
Yeah, they get a lot of shade. I think the dudes are nuts. But you follow the money. If there's money in it, you follow it, right?
Well, they're making some money.
Yeah.
And if they get a knockout, it's an extra 10 grand, I think.
Really? Yeah. Oh, cool.
Just for a knockout.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Those guys are crazy, man. I can imagine. Do I think it's, I don't know. It's hard. You know what I mean? You got to do what you got to do. I don't think it's good on them. Right. I don't like it for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking trauma. I mean, every time you step on the stage, you're taking a killer shot to the head. And rather than just a punching knockout that can, be a flash knockout, and then, your wires are a little loose, but you come back together. Those guys are taking repetitive hard shots and trying not to go to sleep. You know what I mean? So that was always the proponent, of MMA and boxing. They said boxing was worse because you took a lot of shots to the head and you never really got, unless you got, you're looking for the knockout, but it's the repetitive shots to the head that does the overall damage. The instant knockout is actually better for you, is what they say.
Right. And the thing is, when they train, they don't, when they spar or whatever, they don't get slapped in the face by another guy to train the whole time. So like when you spar in boxing or whatever, you're getting concussions the whole time. So I guess you're just saving all that up till like the big match or whatever. And if you watch, like I went on Rumble and watched the Power Slap League. They did what they did with the UFC. They put him in a house and everything like that. Yeah. And it's crazy to see him going from day one. They're like, these are the rules right now. Kinda, we're still working on it. And their form is just like dudes slapping each other.
Right.
And then when they go in the house, they actually have techniques and stuff. Then these dudes like draw way more power. They teach them how not to foul and where to hit. And then it's just like, bam, like they're athletes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's technique to it.
You're just slapping each other. But watch from day one to these guys now. And they do like the jaw. They train their jaw and everything.
Jaws are size.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's
the head weights and stuff.
It's a relatively new
It is. It keeps evolving.
It's going to be evolving a lot.
I keep telling everybody it's my new sport.
It is definitely.
It's straight. I mean, it's straight to the action, right?
Well, yeah,
it's straight to the action. You get straight to the action.
Mm-hmm. We interviewed John the Machine Davis, and he was like, every slap, everybody's on the edge of their seat because they know something is about to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Somebody's about to get their shit rocked, and
And the crazy part about it to me is these dudes will train for 6 months or a year or whatever, and like they'll get their neck strength up and like their slapping power and all this, shoulders and stuff, and then they flip a coin and then they get slapped and they get knocked out.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part.
It's wild.
It's totally wild. Yeah, it's not for me. More power to anybody who is crazy enough to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to be crazy.
Yeah, because people at first were like, I ain't doing that, and they see all these guys and they're like, I could do that.
No,
I couldn't stand there.
No, I couldn't. Just
there's no way.
The not flinching thing. Like that's my natural. That's nature telling me to move. Like
some guys close their eyes.
I'm trying to override my natural instinct. That's crazy.
That's what I was going to say. Like as a fighter, and you're watching that, and there's no defense, right? You're not moving. You're not able to parry. You're not able to do any of that. It slip. You know what I mean? And
you get a slight. And the weight classes are crazy. Like you said, the welterweights, whatever, they just slap the shit out of each other. And like, they don't get knocked out as much, but the big dudes.
That's the crazy thing to me. Those big dudes, like with enough weight behind it, anybody's going to sleep. You know what I mean?
Like, but some of them will just bite down and just eat it.
Yeah, some of them just eat it.
It's crazy.
It is just absolutely insane.
It's crazy. And then, I know there's a whole, like you said, you train behind it. There's talent behind it and anything, but I got to think it's just more natural. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like somebody's ability to go to sleep and stuff. That's not, I mean, some people are just more predisposed, your body.
I think
it's go to sleep. It's kind of like genetics, whether you're built to get knocked out or not. I know it's not, I know that sounds weird, but you look at some of these guys and they're just built.
You can just tell somebody who doesn't have a chin, like some of these guys, and
they're built different. You just know.
But the huge dude, they measure like what is it? Neck strength and like jaw.
Yeah, neck strength, and then total slap force. The speed of their slap. It is just absolutely, it's crazy. But it's like my new sport. I've been following it on Rumble.
No, I get it. Like I said, it's just straight to the action.
There's another series coming out where they bring the guys into the house and like pick fighters
Season
and stuff.
2.
Yeah, it's middle of this month, I think. It should be out. It's freaking insane, man. I love it.
No. Like I said, it's actually perfect for this generation, because everything's instantaneous. You look at everything. Everything's shorts. Everything's clips.
Yeah. You want everything now.
Everything now. It's like my son. You look at the kids. My son, especially. I don't think my son, 6 years old, just turned 6 about a week ago. He. I don't think he's ever watched a whole episode of a cartoon, and I'm a terrible dad for letting that happen. But he watches YouTube shorts all day. I mean, it's just that dope, one after another. It's addiction. Everything's short. I got to get right to the point. I've tried to make him watch one single episode of a cartoon. Like when we grew up, like I couldn't wait till an episode of Teenage Mutant Turtles came on, and I'd watch that whole episode.
Yeah, but once it was off till the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to watch it.
You had to, but I had to sit there and watch that whole thing. Like now it's just like after 5 minutes into the episode of whatever cartoon he's watching, he's done. you know, he's on to the next. He wants to watch something else.
This bores me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's perfect. The slap fighting is perfect for that. You know, it's instantaneous. It's right to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the point. Somebody's going to sleep.
The whole thing's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Somebody's going to sleep. You're either on the good side of a highlight reel or the bad side, you know?
And Jared, I don't know if you remember the stats, but it blows my mind that Power Slap has gotten more views on social media, right, than like all the stuff combined. It's got more views than the NFL, the NBA.
It was like the NFL times 4 or something like that.
Like it blows them all out combined.
Wow.
It blows them out of the water.
Yeah. I don't know. NHL might get some more now that the dude got that action. Maybe
did you watch that video?
I didn't watch the video. It's I didn't.
You're talking about the guy that got his neck.
Yeah. I didn't watch it.
I'm not making any accusations, but at first I'm like, things happen or whatever. And then you see the dude just like kicks up towards the dude's face. I don't think he was trying to kill him.
But he was trying to warn him off, you know, like he was trying to show some kind of aggression maybe, but not kill.
Watch the video.
I don't know.
Because at first I was giving the benefit of the doubt, and then like all that stuff that's on the ice is supposed to be inside of you, not on the. And then
and the other thing about ice, you know, it doesn't seep into the carpet. You see it all.
Yeah,
I've seen a guy bleed all of his blood once on a hardwood floor, and there's a lot.
There's a lot.
I'm just saying, when it's all out there.
I've watched it, you know, in my profession, I've watched it come out, you know, the femoral artery and just fill an entire bed, you know, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I'm sitting there and I mean, I'm like a houseless dude, even alive. It's everywhere, you know, and the body's an amazing thing, you know. Dude lived. Yeah. Dude lived. And I'm just like, I'm soaping it up. Like, I mean, it's just like everywhere.
When you get nicked in the carotid artery and you're sitting there in hockey gear, what can you do unless you're on a surgery table already?
You know,
you can like
put your finger in it.
I mean, you got to close it, right? With pressure, but I mean,
do you have hemostats and can you find it in 30 seconds?
I don't think anybody realizes how hard it is to hold pressure on something like that either.
Right.
Like I do it, you know, like for a living, that, you know, and it's, I mean, your hand's cramped. It's done in like 8 minutes, you know, it's
by the time you get your hand in there to chase the artery to clamp it.
Yeah.
That stuff's supposed to be in your brain and your organs.
You know,
imagine if it was a double. Crazy. What do you do then?
It's just crazy in a sport like that though, where, you know, everybody has that in the back of the mind that could happen.
Are they going to have neck guards now?
They apparently I read somewhere that said they have neck guards and that it's up to the player to wear it or not. Right. Like it was an option that you can wear these, but it's kind of like a helmet. It's like a helmet with like, you know, motorcycle riding. You should be wearing a helmet. You have the option to wear a helmet.
But look at
most people won't.
Look at these hockey players now. I think and I don't know, I've never played hockey, but I feel like they pride themselves on like missing teeth and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They get knocked out. They don't fix it.
I went so hard, I died.
That's terrible, but
they get their ear chopped off and they
was this a pro game?
Apparently, I think the story, I didn't see the video and I just kind of read a little story behind it, but the guy was in the NHL, I think Pittsburgh Penguins or something like that for a year or so. And then this happened in a league over in Europe. So it's kind of like how like a basketball player that can't play in the NBA anymore goes over and plays for a European league. So I think that's the premise of it, is that it was like, he did play professional NHL, but I don't know if he got let loose or whatever, though he was playing in another country. So this is, you know, some shiesty out of the country stuff. Anyways.
I don't know what to think about that. Another country.
Yeah. You know, like
interesting.
Yeah. Like this guy, I mean,
what's that mean? What does that mean?
I mean, this could have been a Russian plant, man. This could have been a Russian plant in there.
I heard that he had a bad rap sheet as well. Like as a player or as a person? As a player.
Probably as a person. The guy who killed him or the guy who killed him.
Yeah. So is he going to face charges?
I don't know.
In another country, you know?
That's the thing, like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean, what are their charges, you know, and how much does their politics play into their charges in that country?
Like you're over, like, I don't know, other countries are just weird. Like you got a little bit of weed in another country, you're going to prison for life.
Yeah.
You fucking murk somebody with an ice skate. You're cool.
We need a screen to pull up.
Yeah, we need a review screen right here.
Yep.
I mean, but people can feel the same way in our country about like vehicular, you know, manslaughter and stuff like that. You kill somebody with your car, that person's life. I mean, that person's dead. Their family has lost somebody. and you served 5 years when it was your fault.
Right.
You know, we all make accidents, but you killed somebody with a vehicle and you only do 5 years.
Right. Or, you're just trying to get home drunk and somebody's texting on their phone and hits you and it's their fault.
Well, it's crazy and how we treat that too. Drunk driving and distracted driving is actually kind of crazy how we treat the two differently, so much differently.
Right.
There's this huge stigma and stuff against drunk driving, which there should be.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just amazing how everybody, like you tell somebody you got DUI or somebody was like, oh, they were driving drunk or something like that. And it's like this big, like, oh no.
Right.
But everybody while they're driving is freaking texting.
Right. I can't stand it. The
problem is that, the statistics of fatalities are so much different between drunk driving and texting while driving, distracted driving. But the statistics, sometimes I love math and you can make math look like the way you want math to look like.
Cherry pick it.
Yes. So the statistics of drunk driving is typically, it's not that you kill somebody, it's you kill yourself. It's most drunk driving deaths are due to single vehicle accidents. Mm-hmm. You go off the road and you die. Usually. I mean, there is tragedies and things like that, but it's crazy how we treat text messages. There's far more people getting in crashes because of text messaging. Mm-hmm. That could ultimately lead to death than there are drunk accidents. We all have probably been involved or know somebody involved in an accident where the person was distracted texting or something like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I know I was bashed by a lady who was texting while driving. But I don't know that many people has been in a drunk driving accident.
Like personally?
Yeah, personally. Like me personally, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's far more. It's just the severity of them is way less.
Right. Gotcha.
Kind of like the difference between a 4-way stop sign and a roundabout.
Right.
Accidents might be the same. It's just roundabouts are less likely to lead to fatalities.
The NHL apparently are going to somebody's going to mandate neck guards. I think it might be England.
They should.
Maybe if
it makes it look less cool.
Maybe
guys
if they made it concrete and then the skates could be wheels so they wouldn't cut anybody.
That's actually called street hockey.
I'll allow it.
The sad thing, and I feel terrible saying it because somebody lost their life, but do you change everything just because of one accident like that? Do you change how things are done because of a freak accident?
I'm sure it's happened before.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it has, but I mean, not in our lifetime, right? I don't remember ever seeing it.
I don't know. I really don't know. Could have happened.
Or at least maybe not, because of our news era that we're in. I'm sure it happened, but we maybe didn't read it or see it in our face. Like
back when the country was great, when we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, back when ignorant was bliss. Just when you didn't know things.
Before they made us wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hell's with that? Like if I want to, that's something I totally don't agree with. Like I think there are great things for safety measures. But you're going to really find me because I don't want to wear a seatbelt. And the only one, there's two people affected by me not wearing a seatbelt. Me, because it's going to, I do think they are tried and true, proven safety measures that work.
But you can ride a motorcycle.
I can ride a motorcycle, right?
That's true.
I don't really think it should be anybody's option to make me wear a seatbelt because the only people that it's really hurting is me and the insurance company that has to pay for my injuries.
Here's the other facet of it. I think that people don't realize when you don't wear a seatbelt, you become a flying object as well.
So I get that.
If you fly
affect that 18-year-old EMT that's got to scoop you up, but
I don't care. I don't care if that person dies, but like if somebody's not wearing their seatbelt and they fly through my windshield, and then take out one of my kids, I'm going to be pissed.
Well, they should make sure.
I get what you're saying. I get the argument of
when
that.
There's I don't care if it's by yourself, but when there's collateral damage, I think that's when I'm.
You're saying it should be like a secondary offense.
Has that never happened? Have I ever seen somebody killed by somebody else coming through their windshield?
Coming through, probably not. But
exactly, probably not. So we're talking hypothetical.
If anything, you should secure your bowling balls and stuff in your car.
Yeah, that might be a stretch. But I have seen people bounce off of each other inside of a car that weren't restrained.
Yeah. But they all went into that knowing that together, right? That was all their personal decision.
Unless everybody else had their seatbelt on and you didn't.
But they were still in the vehicle with that person. They chose to be in the vehicle.
Yeah, I guess if they would have been like, hey, put your seatbelt on.
I mean, it could be no difference. Be like, so you know what else I've seen is like a subwoofer. You know how the back seat of the car flips down? And in a lot of vehicles, you can lower it. And a subwoofer system to get in a car crash, it comes through the back seat and hits somebody in the projectile seat. But I mean, are we going to say no? You can't. So you can't have anything in your trunk.
No, it's America.
Yeah, right. They don't say that you can't have anything in your trunk because it could come through the back seat and hit somebody. But it's a valid point. You know, really, I really think it comes down to insurance companies. Really, I mean, less money they have to fork out if you're wearing a seatbelt and you're less injured. Really,
could be. Yeah.
I think they paid off the government to really be like, hey, you need people wearing seatbelts because we're shelling out a lot of money from this guy hit 3 trees and he didn't die. So now we got to pay for it. Are you
insinuating that private corporations and the government would be in cahoots together for profit?
It depends on what Rumble will.
Apparently anything.
Yeah.
I'm not killing anybody and no.
As far as YouTube goes, no. As far as Rumble goes, Pfizer.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I think the cigarette companies who aren't allowed to use cartoon characters anymore, like Camel Joe, because it
helps with smoking.
Because it advertises to children, would say that you know, it's really weird that they can't use a cartoon character, but we can sell Mountain Dew hard liquor. not like that advertises to kids or nothing, or you know, like all these vapes that are
they have the best
pineapple,
flavors.
Raspberry.
Yeah, those vapes are freaking amazing.
Whatever they're doing in China, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up. But, just quit testing them, okay? I don't want your mouth on it.
But Camel didn't pay the government off anymore to not be able to use Camel Joe because he's a cartoon character, and it would convince kids to do it.
I just heard that if a woman's pregnant and she smokes, it helps with the cramps or whatever they get.
You know what? You know what's amazing to me when you talk about that is like people's like shock and awe if a woman smokes and she's pregnant. They're like, oh my God, you're going to destroy that baby's lungs. It's like, you know, that's not how that works, right? You know, that baby's not like breathing air.
But when people say things like lungs,
lungs, you know, like that's not how that's working, right?
People don't know, man.
Yeah, they're going to get it through their bloodstream, the nicotine. But
those are probably the same people that give people that are screaming Narcan in the emergency room last week.
Could be.
JP, I did want to ask you, you're a really strong proponent of supporting the local community. I know you go out and
absolutely.
What do you say to people that say that Mansfield sucks and there's nothing to do? Don't ask him because he moved away.
I think everywhere you live is what you put into it and what you get out of it, right? I mean, Mansfield might not have everything that the bigger cities does, but we're like an hour drive away from from 2 large cities. We're smack dab in the middle of 2 large cities, and you get your flavor. Like some people, I'm a Columbus person. I'd much rather go down to Columbus. Christina, my fiance, she would much rather go to Cleveland. She's a Cleveland person. So we get the best of both worlds. There's amazing things to do in Cleveland. There's amazing things to do in Columbus. We're smack dab in the middle. Would I want to be in all that? No. So I love Mansfield because like we don't have to deal with the shit they deal with, right?
Like there's no way I could deal with traffic.
I'm not sitting on 240 for an hour to get to work.
Anxiety
for a place that lives 3 miles away. Like for example, like you know, like I said, we are in a prime spot that we have so many options that are within reasonable distance,
right?
And yet we could still get to work on time. So like I said, last night I got called into work and accidentally slept through it, and I got 30 minutes to respond to get to work. And I woke up at 25 minutes. I had 5 minutes left to get to work. And I jumped in the car and freaking gunned it and got to work within 5 minutes. Like,
nice.
Can you do that in Columbus and Cleveland?
No.
Fuck no.
All right.
No. All right. So I think that's great that we are in an area that we have such accessibility to larger cities if we want to get to them.
But we
also are in an area where we don't have to deal with the shit that they deal with.
Right.
So that's great.
And it's not like you're going to Columbus every weekend either, though. You actually go to these places and help prop people up and share it on Facebook and actually like, hey, look, there's things going on here too.
Yeah, yeah. You get out of your area, what you want to get out of here. We got all kinds of things here. Like, like for example, we went to the Renaissance a couple of weeks ago and we watched a free show. It was a free show put on at the Renaissance Theater, which is the Renaissance Theater is a great asset to this community. It brings a lot of people in and it opens up theater to a lot of people. And, the thing about going and watching a movie and going to a theater is 2 totally different experiences. going to a theater, you're watching a movie, which you could do in your house. Going to a theater, you're watching people and interactions between people,
True.
Live people. And you get this element of there's no outtakes, there's no editing and things like that. They mess up, they roll with it. It's interesting to see how much more, all these things probably happen on the set that you don't get to see. You get to see that.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're actually a part of something.
Yeah. It's a totally different experience. But we went to the Renaissance and we watched a orchestra there. And there was this guy who was leading the orchestra. And I can't remember exactly what part of the world that he came from. So I'm just going to say something like Spain because it sounds about right. And but he was just on. He came out and he was like, "You guys don't have any idea how great this is for your community. Like, you guys have these amazing musicians in this area, and you have this theater that's able to put on these shows." And I mean, this is a guy who, when you read his credentials, it was insane the amount of places he was head of in all these colleges and universities and musical programs. And for him to come to Mansfield and just be like, "Hey, you guys got this here. And this is a really incredible thing." Like, he's like, this is a world renowned guy. And he's talking about how great it was that we had things like that here. So yeah, you got all these, you have the Renaissance, you have the Mansfield Playhouse, which is a great thing in this area. Mansfield is, it's like I said, it's what you get out of it. We do have, it's not very cultured as far as food like you'd find in a bigger city, but we do have different types of food. There's plenty of Mexican places that, everywhere has 100 Mexican places.
Freaking Mexican food.
Yeah. KV Market, down there, they got the Punjabi oven. I don't know if you guys have ever had the Indian food from there. The KV Market, man.
Is that right on 4th Street?
Yeah.
I cashed a lottery ticket there the other day.
Yeah. No, go try the Indian food from there.
They're a It's a Ohio Lottery premium retailer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
You got to take your big tickets there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you got a big ticket.
Apparently. I felt really sketchy there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's a little bit of a sketchy area. It's 4th Street. But
take a gun.
That hey, you're killing the whole.
Yeah. Really nice. Take a gun. The important part is you.
Maybe it was a different one.
Yeah, no. I will say it's in probably the sketchiest area of town, so it doesn't help them. But the Punjabi oven in there, they got amazing Indian food.
Close.
So is it like hot and ready to go, or what?
You put it in order. I don't know that I've ever walked in there and just pointed at something.
I don't know.
I got it. They used to have a sit-in, dine-in area that you could, but I think they did away with it. I think it's all carry out now. Probably rules, regulations, state inspections, and stuff change.
Golden burrito,
right? So, and then we have that a Philippines place. I don't even know if that's how you say it, Philippines.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I just think it's just a Philippines. That's a new one for me. I felt very. All right, I'm gonna shut up. No, but they have that place that opened up downtown. Deja Food.
That's a good name.
Deja Food. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Think of all the places you're missing since you moved away.
Yeah, we got at least 3 more Mexican places.
Philippines food and
Philippines food.
And Worcester, where the cows go woo.
No, but you guys did just get up in Worcester. You guys, I just went there and ate at a new Indian place up there the other day. It's called the Curry Pot.
The curry pot,
It just opened up. I hope it just opened up because the service was terrible. Wow.
Food was good. Service was terrible.
Well, I don't even know that the food was there really good. It took us over an hour to get an appetizer.
You seem really excited about telling about that.
Just to poo on it.
Well, I'm hoping in the future it'll get better. Things are really bad at the beginning. Like our Philippines place. The first time I went there, it took us over an hour to get anything to eat. The food was really good, but the service
we don't
was
care
terrible.
what you call us. Just come
in here.
Has anybody been to Steak and Shake recently?
Steak and Shake. I think there's like a cult classic behind that. I don't know that I've ever ate at Steak and Shake.
Really?
What?
Never?
You've never had the milkshake?
Maybe once I had it. Maybe once.
I'm just curious because the service, ever since I can remember, has always been terrible at Steak and Shake. Like, it's the worst ever.
Yeah.
And if you ever worked at Steak and Shake, you should be ashamed of yourself. But anyway, I heard now they got rid of all the wait staff and you go in on a kiosk and order your food.
About time.
I didn't know if it was true or not.
I mean, I think that's the new standard everywhere you go, right?
It is, but
I don't like it. But if it already sucks.
But it's an actual, like, it's a sit down restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't like it. The last few times that we tried to go to the Steak and Shake was when they were doing the remodel for it. So it
I didn't even know they got remodeled.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the other place
that looked just the same.
The place that was getting like Steak and Shake was IHOP in Ontario. They were getting terrible with their wait staff.
I guess we just don't eat out much. I think I've only ate at that IHOP once when it first opened. It was like new and like, hey, we got an IHOP. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that the whole serve yourself screens is kind of the new way to go. But and I got to say, so one of my things, I have a pet peeve, and it is I don't use drive-thrus. I refuse. I will not go. Like I pulled into a Sonic because I've always heard Sonic has like all these like really cool like drinks and stuff.
That's not a drive-through. That's a drive up.
But
to drive in.
But nobody comes to your window and like takes your order or nothing like that. It's not like one of those hops. At least in Columbus where I went, it was just like a screen.
Well,
like
it's a screen, then they bring it out to you.
Yeah. But I don't want to order off a screen. I want to talk to a human being. So that's always been my thing. I think I've went through a bank drive-through once in my life ever. I don't do drive-throughs for like pops or beers or anything like that. I always have to go in and have a human interaction with somebody.
It's one of your bugaboos, huh?
Yeah. I can't do it. Like I've literally made like girls that I was dating.
This is the hill you're dying on. So if they hear you say you've gotten over it, they're going to be like,
oh, I don't think I have an option. At this point, I don't think I have an option.
Too far.
I'm like that with a lot of things. Some things I don't even believe anymore, but I've made such a big deal out of it. I can't stop now.
Yeah, right. It's one. I just think, I think drive-thrus are a great thing. I think they should be used.
Do you do self-checkout?
I do because I don't have an option.
There's at least one with a huge line everywhere you go.
Yeah, with a huge line. Yeah. That's
an inconvenience.
That's the one.
Yeah. If I do have a cart full of things, I won't use a self-checkout. I will wait in that huge line if I have a cart.
Okay, let me ask you a question here. You and me are in a car together. I'm driving. I go through the drive-thru. Do you get anything? Or do you go?
Are you wearing a seatbelt?
I probably wouldn't. No.
Really? No.
Even if you're in
I
the
probably would
passenger
ask
seat?
you to go inside if you could not go through the drive-thru so I can go.
But you still have the exact same interaction with the person through a window. You hand them money and they hand you food. I feel like it's a rushed type of thing. So like it's
when
fast food.
like when I worked at Taco Bell, you had a timer that literally when you pulled up to the screen, a timer starts, and when they pull out, a timer goes away, and you're supposed to get them out of that drive-through underneath a certain amount of time. And so everything was rushed. Your experience is now a rushed experience. You don't get a genuine experience. Not that you really want to have a genuine experience with the McDonald's employee, but
they're people too.
They're people too. I do. I like to treat everybody with the same respect.
I respect it.
I still think they should catch a charge for getting your order wrong. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I've donated to them plenty of times.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just that I want a human interaction. I want to treat somebody with respect. I want to look them in the eye and tell them have a great day after they hand me my item. And I think it's rushed and not genuine through drive-thrus. And I like
that. I respect
that. I think drive-thrus are a great thing, but they should be used as like handicap parking spots. Right. For women who have small children who it's very
I thought you were just going to say women.
Just berate them too along with the Philippines.
Or Mountain Dew Americans.
So if you're handicapped or something like that, you should get to go through the drive-thru and get expedited service. But now the drive-thru is so packed, you got these people can't even have the option to go inside. And now they're waiting in this stupid long line. But
and when you go inside,
people have like legs.
Like T-Bell, the old people stare at the machine and they're like, "Do you need help?" "Yeah, I would just like to order food." And they're like,
order on that
come
screen.
Come over here.
Yeah, and
hit that.
Show you how to order on.
I've seen people like older people leave multiple times. Like, you can go to hell.
Yeah.
You take your soft taco with you.
Touch your machine.
Touching that machine.
Yeah.
It takes a picture of me and says it to the government. Lets them know my order. But so that's what I'm saying. I have that option pretty much being taken away from me at this point in time, because even when you go in now, they make you use that touch screen. Like they'll walk you over and touch the buttons for you rather than touching it.
Like you're really dumb. They're like,
but I will say it was convenient in the fact that I had to use it the other day. And when anybody who has multiple children would know, like it's a hectic time going through a drive-through or going through into McDonald's or anything like that. Like, so we always go in because there's so many different orders, that I'm not yelling at Timmy in the back seat, hurry the hell up.
Right.
Don't try it, Dad.
Yeah. So you go in and everybody gets to choose. But it was nice. Those screens are nice because then everybody in your party can just walk up and choose what they want. And, and say like they actually can check on there, like no ketchup, no onions and things like that. Cause we do have children with milk allergies. They can't have the cheese on it and things like that. And so it was kind of nice that for sure it was put on there rather than somebody else, you're telling them no cheese or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And hoping they got it right. That you chose the right buttons. Now,
so when they still get your order wrong,
it's definitely their fault now.
Because you had that personal interaction, you know who to hate at night. That motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. You know whose car to throw the taco at in the parking lot.
And I have a quick question. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but we talked about old people and, being nice to them. And, I think everybody tries to give older people some respect and everything. But when do you draw the line? Because I feel like some old people have just said fuck it and they're just out, not for themselves, but like just.
No, you jealous.
Have you seen that Nick Schwartzman stand up where he's like,
I haven't.
Grandpa's shit in a box again. And he's like, I thought it was a model train set. And then he's like,
like I had some old guy cut in line the other day at pump gas.
Here we go with the gas. I've heard this story 3 times. You post about it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Respect. You need to thank him for his service.
Yeah. Well, he was a veteran, but it wasn't a veteran of waiting in lines. Okay.
He waited long enough.
He didn't do any service doing that. Okay.
His friends didn't die face down in the mud.
It just really set me off. Like, you know what? I would give you all the respect in the world, but you just did some bullshit like that. Fuck you.
I'm going to tell my parents, don't let this guy anywhere around their life support machines.
He's fooling it. I got to say on that note, you show them respect to begin with.
Yeah.
And then you give them a second try just because they're grumpy and old, And, but after that, once they show you the non-mutual respect has been lost, because they have no reason to not give you respect, right? Just because they're older does not mean they can't.
Right, maybe they're just they disrespect you. Being fed up with like the way the world is, and it's not the same as when they grew up or whatever.
You got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I feel
that
like that now, and I'm 30.
Right.
In my
everybody that walk around's like, I just had some applesauce, and they're just like,
I just had applesauce in my pants.
I totally get that. Like,
no, you show them some respect, and then you should even show them a second time respect, just to like let them know that you're not one of the people that they've been accustomed to. Because they probably have been accustomed to a lot of people that are very disrespectful to them. Because like you said, today they really don't respect the elders as much as in our nation we don't. In our nation, we don't respect our elders as if other nations do. I get to work with foreign doctors and things like that. And they tell me about how things are in their country. And it's like, wow.
That used to be where all the knowledge was kept.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
and
they've been replaced by
and you like they were revered in their household. Like you kept them around because they knew everything. Like,
right.
And they helped you make those
they're like the original
important decisions in life.
They're the original Siri.
Yeah, right. And but so I say you give them that respect, and then they're used to dealing with disrespectful assholes, so they're probably still going to be disrespectful to you. So you give them that second one to be like, no, I'm genuine about it. It's kind of like what I've always said about like when somebody offers me something to eat, or even when I do it, I will offer you something to eat. I really don't want to offer you something to eat, right? I want that. If I'm going to offer you some of my fries, I really don't want you to eat my fries, but I can't eat my fries in front of you without offering you some fries, right?
I'm gonna remember that next time.
So I'm going to say, hey, you want some fries? And I'm really in the back of my mind, I'm hoping like, fuck, he's going to say, hopefully he don't want them fries. And you're going to say, no, I'm good. And I'm like, are you sure? And then, if I say, so if somebody offers me something, I'll always say no. The first time somebody offers me something, I'll be like, no, it's cool. If they offer me a second time, like, oh, you sure you don't want it? Or, hey, you sure? I'll say yes if I do want it. I know that the first time that they offer it, they're doing it out of hospitality. Like they probably don't want to do that. But if they offer to me the second time, then maybe they do want to. And now we can move forward with the fact that I do want some of your fries. But it's kind of like that with old people, like, I'm going to offer
I'm not saying I don't want to write off all old people, but I've just been getting the vibe that like they're pissed and they don't give a fuck anymore.
I'm clipping that.
Like, I don't want to hate you. Like I respect you, but
it's like being a first time parent versus being a second time parent, right? The first time parent, you're like all minding your P's and your Q's and stuff and trying to do things right. And
now they're upstairs playing GTA.
Yeah. Now they're upstairs playing GTA. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that, the parents, they've already dealt with everybody and they realize you don't have to be nice to everybody and things like that. So just they were trying to be nice the first half of their lives, and the second half of their life, they're just like,
that's a good point.
No, I'm done.
So we talked about old people a little bit. Who do you guys, in your opinion, is there somebody in your life that you owe your come up or you looked up to, or like who was that you tried to strive to be or got your, knowledge from back in the day?
Well, I mean, for me, I didn't have that good of a childhood. And growing up, there were a lot of other friends' parents who kind of stepped into those roles. My dad was a truck driver. He wasn't always home. And my mom did the best that she could with having, 3 kids at one time by herself. And so it became like when I would go over to friends' houses, the hospitality that their parents showed me and the things that, you would experience a different household, right? And the way that those families were raised. So like your guys' parents played a big role in my life. Coming up 15, 16 years old and staying at your house every weekend and, just the way that they, treated us as, an extension of the family. Right. They fed us, right. They didn't have to do that. They, they would always buy extra pop on the weekends so that everybody was covered and that. And then, the guidance that I got from your dad, through life problems, you had talked about your fight. I had a similar situation where I got my ass kicked in high school. I went to his dad to get my head glued shut so that I didn't have to go to a hospital or, spend that time there. Showed up and it was right there at your guys' dinner table, on Lucas North. So for me, it was, Sandy and Mike Center. It was Sean Chitwood for sure. Stepping in and just being a life friend and knowing, that I needed something at a time that, helped me survive, like help me get into my 30s and, accept that I'm going to start dealing with my demons. I'm going to start dealing with my depression, start, that self-help. And I mean, that's what I'm thankful for it because that allowed me to grow older, to learn how to manage that depression and now, having a family and being able to raise them, I wouldn't have made it this far if there wasn't influences like that in my life.
Cool. Very good.
Yeah, man. For me, it's just, I'm a heathen, bro.
You're a heathen?
I'm a heathen. I had nobody to look up to. And I still, if you had to ask me who I looked up to, it'd be YouTube. That's who taught me to do everything in life. Yeah, that's who taught me how to do everything in life, man. Well, I didn't have like a father figure who,
but even
like
when
my
you got
dad,
older.
Yeah, but like my dad, like, your dad was a truck driver. My dad worked at the prisons and stuff like that. And he was second shift and he would get froze overnights and things like that. And I had my mom was growing up, she was an addict and we chose to walk away from her. And then stepmoms growing up and things like that, they also had their issues and their problems and things. And so we were just pretty much heathens to run the streets and do whatever the hell we want, There was really nobody to tell me to do my homework. There was nobody to, if I said, how do you do this or how do you do that? Nobody was really there to show me. My dad, I'm sure, probably did things for me. I don't remember him, but he did the best that he could. He was a single dad, or not really single, but like I said, my stepmoms have never really worked out the greatest. My current stepmom, Rita, she's a wonderful woman. But she's dealt with her own demons as well. And so, they never really have any kind of parental figures. But my dad did the best that he could, having to work. He had to provide. I mean, the man's the provider. He had to provide. But that left nobody really there to teach us anything, teach us morals, teach us really anything. So I never really had a figure to look up to. And I still wouldn't say that I had a figure to look up to other than, you just got to live by the golden rule. You do unto others as you want it done unto yourself.
So who taught you that?
I mean, I just think that's
at some point.
I just think that's something that you like innately figure out. Like if you,
right.
You treat people like shit, you get treated like shit, right? Because it's hard to develop relationships with anybody if you treat somebody like crap. And you get tired of not being in relationships, or not having a relationship with anybody or anything. So you kind of figure like, the positive, and like you said earlier, you believe in karma, and you put out positive vibes and hopefully the positive vibes resonate, come back to you, And I think, you just you figure it out that like, man, the more effort and and you'll attest to this, like with my training and stuff that I did and those, like the more time I put into something, the luckier I got, right? The more positivity I put into something and trained harder and harder, the better it got. So, and I think that's kind of the same with people, you know, you put more effort into people and be treated how you want to be treated, and it's going to come back to you. They're going to treat you the same way that you treat them. At least that's the goal. That's what you're hoping for. Right. So, I think as far as like that, like that's it. Like, I mean, for me, there's nothing more than that. Like you just, because I don't believe in religion. I have no religion or anything like that. So, you know, for me, it's just positivity. You put out what you want to do, you know, and for me, I've always thought about it, religion in this way, in the fact that as long as I live my life as a good person and do the best that I can, then who could deny me entrance to their home? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm a good person and I do what I'm supposed to do, I don't have to tell them every day that I'm a good person or ask for them. And, you know, so people ask, you know, what do you think is going to happen to you in the afterlife? And I said, you know, if there is nobody or nothing, I won't know anything anyways. It's just blanked on over. I said, but if there is somebody, rather it be the Christian God or Buddha God or whatever God you look at, like if he looks back on my track record of my life and says that I seen you did all these good things in life and you treated people fair and kind, come on in. If he denies me because I didn't worship him specifically, but I did live a good life and did great things for lots of people, that probably says more about him than me. And I really don't want to hang out with that guy anyways. If I'm a good person in life and he doesn't let me into it, you know what I mean? Like that says more about him than me. I'm the good person. If he doesn't want to hang out with good people, then who is he? So, I mean, I think that's just the golden rule. You don't.
I could do a whole nother podcast with you about that, but that'd take another 3 hours.
Right? But anyways, that's just, I didn't need a figure in my life because I just treat people the way I want to be treated.
I get that.
And then I'm glad you figured that out on your own.
Yeah, and YouTube just taught me how to do things in life. You know? Like I want to work on the car. I mean, I don't understand how people like really did things before YouTube. Like
we talk about that all the time. You're not kidding, man.
Like everything, you just go straight to it. Like everything, like working on anything, I go to YouTube and I watch these videos. And so that's how, you know, leads into another thing. Like me and, you know, the fiance we argue about all the time. And that's the roles and duties of a relationship and things like that. And then I got to say, that's one thing that drives me crazy is when she doesn't do something and I'm like, well, why is it my responsibility to do it? And she's like, well, you know how to do this. And I said, no, I'm going to watch a YouTube video. And she's like, yeah. And then you'll figure it out, right? And you'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, but you could have watched the exact same video that I did. I have no more knowledge or experience. My dad didn't teach me those type of things growing up. I don't know why, or if he didn't know how, or if he just didn't have time.
Tim learned from YouTube, then I asked him how to do it.
Yeah. So
pretty much.
Like anything I know from YouTube. You know, I've never went to my dad and asked, how do you figure this out? How do you work? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do, you know, it's straight to YouTube. Yeah. And so I tell her, I'm like, you could have did the exact same thing I'm going to do. Like
learn it.
Just take the time and effort to do it.
Yeah.
So
I want to, Tim, you got something?
No.
We're getting ready to wrap up. I haven't done this in a while, but I want to do just real quick. If you could give yourself advice at 18 years old, just real quick.
Looking back now.
Just if you could teleport for 20 seconds and tell yourself something. I know you can make it really funny, but for real.
Oh man. What would I tell? So 18-year-old Vince, right? That it's going to be okay. You know, had a lot of issues to deal with and things that like you learn to live life outside of Lucas, Ohio. Right. So I was well-traveled. I had to go through a lot of, you know, journeying outside of my comfort zone to learn that it's okay to learn to live life. You know, I talk about the depression and everything. There was a time where I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to do things, you know, I didn't want to try to have a family. I didn't want to try to have kids. You know, it was just a lot of darkness. And as you try to find your path, that's just something that you have to go through. So like, if anybody that listens to this is going through that, there's a way out. There are outlets that can get you to enjoy this amazing thing that we call life. You know, the probability of us on this planet being, you know, one of the only life forms in the galaxy, perhaps, whatever, you know, as we begin space exploration even further, it's a gift. It really is. And to be able to enjoy it is the best thing that you could do with your life. So, make sure that you do what you need to do for your self-care. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self. Hey man, you got a lot of demons. You got a lot of things you got to work through, but work through them, because at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be worth it. Right on.
Nice.
I tell my 18-year-old self, T-Pain lied to you. Do not fall in love with that stripper. she was my downfall. No, but in all seriousness,
I knew that was coming when you were smirking.
Yeah, you knew something smart was coming. But no, in all seriousness, I go back and tell myself, do better to make things political. This world is a political place. Really, I think opportunities, you got to be in the right time and right place to make things happen in life. Right time, right place. Bill Gates, all those people would not be who they are if they weren't born in that exact right time, right place, right? If Bill Gates would not have came before the computers existed, he would have been a nobody. So you got to be in the right time, right place, and you got to be around the right people to make that happen. So don't be afraid to get out, put yourself out there. What's the worst that can happen if you put yourself out there? Your ego takes a little bashing, you'll get up, brush yourself off, So that's the main thing, is just get out there, make connections, and realize that, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. You know what I mean? Right. I'll say that over and over again. You don't want to ever be the smartest person in the room, because then you're not getting anything contributed to you. You're contributing to everybody else. And two, just anybody listening, do exactly, life is about treating others the way you want to be treated. And that will get you the right people around you, right? There's a lot of shady things you can do in life to get people around you. So it's not all politics. Like, you just like, surround yourself with the right people and treat people the way that you want to be treated, and now get those right people around you.
Respect. Yeah. I believe in that. You are the 5 people you are around. I don't know the quote. You are the embodiment of the 5 people you hang around, or, something of the sort. You guys have anything you want to shout out?
No. Since we did do a lot of talking on the podcast today about the MMA scene and the jiu-jitsu scene here in Mansfield, Ohio, I want to give a big shout out to all the fighters from Cody Stevens, Wolverine headquarters that are going to go and put their talents on display tonight. They put in the hard work. They're going to take 4 fighters into the cage tonight locally, and they're going to put on the best show that they can. They're going to put their knowledge and experience to test. This is exactly what they've trained for, and this is what they do. I think if you want to see exciting shows and support something local, go see your local MMA scene. These guys literally blood, sweat, and tears have went into training to put on a good show and hopefully make it to the next level. If you're willing to buy a UFC pay-per-view, you're willing to buy a ticket to your local sports scene and make it happen.
Do they stream that local event anywhere?
They do. You just got to be careful on any links you see on Facebook or anything like that, because 90% of these things are just like hacks. There's one, I can't think of what the company is.
Maybe we'll go and put it on Rumble.
Yeah. I mean, there's one that does it, and I can't think of what the name of them is, but they do stream it. Some of the local Ohio shows, they are like pay-per-view, but you know what I mean? It's like $8. You know what I mean? You can go to McDonald's right now and buy $8 meal, or you can support. Well, I mean, kids menu. Menu. You got to stay on the kids menu.
No drinks.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
But anyway, support your local scenes, and not only in MMA, but support your local people. That's a big thing I've always see people do, is they ask their friends for discounts and things like that. If you're willing to pay somebody else full price, pay your friends full price and just support their business in totality.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Got anything, Timmy? No. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
No problem. Pleasure.
All right. Later, everybody.
See ya.